Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today, we're tackling a question that, well, a lot of you have been asking, especially with everything going on in crypto. Is Marathon Digital Holdings a good buy right now?
Yeah, it's a big one. Marathon Digital, major Bitcoin miner. We've pulled together, a pretty deep analysis looking at fundamentals, valuation, the charts, sentiment, the works.
Right.
Our goal today really is to cut through some of that noise, give you a clear picture of what matters if you're considering the stock.
Okay, so we'll unpack the business itself, look at the strengths, the pretty significant risks too, and what the analysts are actually saying. And before we really dive in, if you're finding these deep dives useful, please do think about subscribing to the show. Maybe give us a like or a comment.
Yeah, it helps us out. And if you're feeling particularly generous, you could even buy us a coffee. Supports more explorations like this one.
Definitely appreciate it. Okay, let's get into it. Marathon Digital Holdings. Fundamentally, it's all about mining Bitcoin. So what does that actually mean for their revenue? How does that core business function day to day?
Well, what's really striking, I think, is just how directly tied their revenue is to the price of Bitcoin. It's almost a one-to-one kind of feel. Their whole business is crypto mining. So when Bitcoin's price moves up or down, their profitability follows suit pretty dramatically sometimes.
Okay.
They are trying to boost their mining capacity, get more efficient, but that core exposure to crypto prices, that remains the main story.
That makes sense. It's like a leveraged play on Bitcoin itself almost. So what about things like profit margins, cash flow? Are those just as volatile?
They absolutely can be. Margins can swing wildly with Bitcoin's price. You get these volatile earnings reports.
Yeah.
And cash flow, that really depends heavily on, well, how efficiently they're mining and what their power costs are. Management's always trying to optimize those, expand infrastructure. But, the profitability of mining itself is just inherently cyclical. It goes with the crypto market cycles.
And expansion takes capital. How are they funding that? Are they taking on a lot of debt? Is that a risk factor we need to watch?
Our sources didn't give exact debt numbers, but they did note that Marathon Digital often finances new equipment using either debt or equity offerings.
Right, diluting shareholders or adding leverage.
Exactly. And that can definitely raise the leverage risk, especially, during those crypto bear markets. It really makes you question their financial structure, how resilient it is.
So zooming out a bit, where does Marathon Digital actually stand in the mining industry? Do they have a real competitive edge, or are they just like one big player among many?
Well, they are one of the leading publicly traded Bitcoin miners. They've got sized, significant infrastructure, which gives them operational scale benefits. That's something.
Okay.
But, and this is a big but, the whole crypto mining sector is intensely competitive. Plus, you've got that looming regulatory uncertainty everywhere.
Yeah.
So those things together kind of limit any really strong, durable competitive advantage they might have.
Okay, let's shift to the money side then. Valuation. This is where it gets really interesting for potential investors, right? What are analysts actually projecting for the stock price?
So the consensus price targets we're seeing, they range from about $21.35 on the low end up to maybe $28 on the high end over the next year.
Okay, and the stock's currently trading around $18.46, something like that?
Yeah, roughly. So, that implies potential upside from, 15-16% up to over 50%?
That is quite a spread. It shows a lot of differing opinions, or maybe just uncertainty.
Definitely reflects the uncertainty, I think.
So for investors used to looking at, traditional metrics, PE ratios, price to sales, price to book, what do those tell us about Marathon Digital? Do they even apply here?
That's a great question. And honestly, our sources indicate those exact traditional metrics weren't even provided. And maybe more importantly, the sheer volatility of this stock and the fact that it's based on, non-traditional assets like Bitcoin holdings and mining rigs, it means those classic metrics might just have limited usefulness. They don't always capture the picture well.
Right. PE ratio doesn't mean much if earnings swing from huge profits to losses quarter by quarter.
Exactly. So how do they forecast value then?
Yeah, that's the question.
Well, price forecasts still point to potential upside. They're based on, fundamental analysis and forecasts for cryptocurrency prices themselves. People do use discounted cash flow analysis, DCF, but it's tricky.
How so?
Because projecting future cash flows is core to DCF, right? But with Bitcoin's price being so volatile, predicting those future revenues and profits, it's really, really challenging.
Like forecasting the weather months in advance.
Kind of, yeah. So while DCF analysis is used, and it does suggest potential for recovery and growth as they scale up mining, the range of outcomes is just huge because of that Bitcoin volatility.
Okay, let's switch gears again. Technical analysis. What's the price chart actually doing? What's the recent action been like for Marathon Digital?
Well, the price pattern is highly volatile. No surprise there. It's heavily, heavily influenced by Bitcoin's movements.
Right.
Like we said, current price around $18.46. Analyst targets are projecting maybe a steady rise towards like the $27 to $34 range by year end. So that implies a positive near-term trend, technically speaking.
But it raises that question, doesn't it? How much of that is just momentum, technical buying, versus the underlying fundamentals actually improving?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And our sources didn't detail specific technical levels like support or resistance or indicators like RSI or MESID.
Right.
But the main takeaway technically is it's high beta. It just swings harder than the market, especially reacting to crypto news, good or bad.
So high volatility isn't just like a side effect. It's really a core feature of this stock.
Absolutely. It's known for it, super sensitive to crypto market moves and even broader macro factors that hit, risk assets in general.
Got it. So what's the overall vibe then? The sentiment around Marathon Digital right now? What are analysts generally thinking?
The consensus view, looking across more than a dozen analysts, is actually a buy rating.
Interesting.
But, and this is key, those price targets, like we mentioned, are all over the place. $9.50 on the very low end, up to $34.
Wow.
Yeah. So it shows, there's definitely some optimism, but also a lot of uncertainty baked in, divergent views.
I've heard people talk about short interest with this stock. Is that a big factor here? Could we see like a short squeeze?
It's definitely a factor. The short interest has been quite elevated at times. And yes, that creates what they call short squeeze potential, meaning if some positive news hits, maybe Bitcoin rallies or they have a great earnings report, the price can jump. And if it jumps enough, the short sellers who bet against the stock get forced to buy shares back to cover their positions, which just pushes the price up even faster, even higher. It can amplify moves significantly.
Okay, so that adds another layer of potential volatility, but maybe to the upside sometimes. What are the big potential catalysts then? Things that could really move the needle for Marathon Digital?
Yeah, a few key things to watch. Definitely their quarterly earnings reports. Those are tied directly to Bitcoin prices and how much they mine, so they're critical short-term drivers.
Makes sense.
Obviously, rising Bitcoin prices themselves, that could sharply improve revenues, margins, almost overnight.
The big one.
Yeah. Then there's regulation. Any developments in the crypto space, whether it's, more clarity or new restrictions, that's a major variable. Huge impact potential.
Always hanging over the industry.
Always. And finally, just their own execution. Successfully expanding their infrastructure, getting more efficient. That's key for long-term growth.
Okay, but every investment has downsides, risks.
Yeah.
And Marathon Digital seems like it probably has a few significant ones.
Yeah.
What are the main concerns investors should be aware of?
Oh, definitely. Connecting it back, the number one risk, without a doubt, is crypto price volatility.
Still comes back to Bitcoin.
Every time. Their revenues, their earnings, they are just extremely sensitive to Bitcoin price swings. That ramps up the investment risk significantly.
And you mentioned regulation earlier as a catalyst, but it's also a risk, right?
Absolutely. A huge risk. Crypto mining faces this constantly evolving regulatory landscape all over the world. New rules could restrict operations or just make everything much more expensive.
Yeah.
It really raises questions about, their long-term operational freedom in different countries. It's a big unknown.
And we keep saying volatility, but it sounds like the stock's volatility itself is a risk factor you need to consider.
It is, absolutely. The share price itself swings wildly. You just need a strong stomach, a high risk tolerance as an investor. It's not a smooth ride.
What about liquidity? Can you get in and out easily?
Well, it's a mid-cap stock in the crypto mining space, so liquidity is generally moderate, not like, Apple or Microsoft.
Right.
But because it is so volatile, you can get these really sharp price swings and gaps very quickly. So while you can trade it, those swift moves add another layer of risk.
Okay. So we covered a lot of ground. Fundamentals, valuation, technicals, sentiment, catalysts, risks. After digging through all of that, what's the final verdict? What's the overall rating here?
So putting it all together, our comprehensive analysis lands Marathon Digital at an overall rating of 6.5 out of 10.
6.5. Okay, what does that signal?
It basically signals high risk, but also, potentially high reward. It's very much tied to the fate of the broader cryptocurrency market.
So who should even be looking at this type of investment then? Is it for everyone?
Definitely not for everyone. It's really best suited for investors who have a high tolerance for risk and who really understand that direct exposure to crypto prices.
Okay.
It might be particularly interesting for, say, short to medium term traders, people looking to maybe capitalize on a Bitcoin price recovery or maybe play that short squeeze potential we talked about.
What about the long-term investors, the buy and hold crowd? Should they
Mhm.
just steer clear?
Well, for a long-term investment, you'd need really strong conviction. Conviction in Bitcoin itself and in the future growth of the mining industry. Plus, again, that willingness to ride out extreme volatility over the long haul. It's a very active hold if you do.
Right, not set and forget.
Yeah.
So for those who are interested, maybe fit that profile,
hmm
do the sources offer any suggestions on like entry points or exit strategies?
Yeah, there were some thoughts on that. Suggest a reasonable entry range might be around these current levels, maybe $17 to $19.
Okay.
Though, waiting for potential dips could maybe lower your entry risk a bit. For shorter term traders, definitely consider a stop loss, maybe 10–15% below where you get in, just to limit downside if the market turns sour.
Sensible risk management.
Exactly. And for taking profits, maybe think about selling parts of your position as it approaches those analyst consensus targets, $27 to $34. But that really depends on your own risk appetite and what the market's doing at the time.
Wow. Okay. That was a really thorough deep dive into Marathon Digital. It seems pretty clear that while there's exciting potential there, it is absolutely not for the faint of heart.
Couldn't agree more. Marathon Digital is fundamentally a speculative play on Bitcoin mining. Its success hinges so heavily on those big macro crypto factors, regulatory shifts, and frankly, their own ability to run the business well.
Yeah.
It's definitely more suited for traders or maybe investors who are really comfortable with high volatility and a lot of uncertainty, less so for someone seeking, stable, predictable, long-term growth.
So wrapping up, what does this all mean for you, the listener?
hmm
As you think about Marathon Digital, maybe the bigger question isn't just about this one stock.
Mm.
Maybe it's about how much you believe in the whole future of digital currency mining itself. And do the companies powering that future, with all their ups and downs, actually align with your personal risk tolerance, your investment philosophy?
That's a great point. It's not just the stock pick, it's the conviction in the underlying industry, isn't it?
Exactly. Something to really mull over. Well, thank you for joining us on the deep dive today. We really hope this exploration has given you a clearer, more informed perspective on Marathon Digital. Until next time.